Anyways, today I'm going to talk about your adoption team. I forgot to look something up, but I'm going to talk about your adoption team, and also, as always, answer any question that you might have about the adoption process, and specifically the domestic infant adoption process, which is my jam, and that's my special sauce. Anyway, so your adoption team. If you thought that you could just do it alone, you're wrong. You absolutely need a team of people around you. First and foremost is you. And why I say that you are on your team, which is like, duh. What I mean by that is that get out of your own way. Like take a deep dive inside of yourself and look at, are you sabotaging yourself? Are you making this process easier or more difficult for yourself? Where might you be getting in your own way? And get out of it. And whatever that looks like for you, it might mean meditation. It might mean, just getting in the right mindset. It might mean bringing more people on your team to help you. But make it easy on yourself. It also means making the people who are on your team, make it easy for them to work with you. Another person on your team, obviously I'm an adoption consultant, so I highly recommend it, hiring an adoption consultant. I don't ever recommend doing this on your own and thinking you can navigate it all on your own. It's a really difficult process with a lot of ups and downs. So, and I promise this is not a pitch, just a little bit about why I started doing what I'm doing. I used an adoption consultant myself. I didn't know what the heck an adoption consultant was or what they did. I just knew I needed help, and I needed somebody to tell me what to do and how to do it, what to read and what not to read, because I didn't want to go down rabbit holes that kept me frozen. I mean, I'm one that in the past, and I hopefully since starting my business, I don't do it as much anymore, but I do. When things get hard, it's so easy to check out. But when you have somebody who's strong on your team to keep it moving forward and to keep guiding you along the right path so you don't derail, that's really important. So your adoption consultant, everybody needs a home study, and the home study has to be done in your home state. And in getting your home study done, you're going to be assigned a social worker or a caseworker, usually they're social workers, to do your home study. That person is going to be all up in your grill for, I don't know, about a year, however long it takes you to adopt. That person is in your life from day one until 3 to 6 months after you bring home your baby. So you want to make darn sure that this is somebody that you jive with. This is someone who's available to you. So let me give you a little story. So I'm from Illinois, and I hired an agency for my home study that I absolutely love. And I got assigned my social worker. And at the time I was working full time. And she couldn't, I don't know, I can't speak to whether or not I would have loved her or not, but I knew that it was taking her 3 weeks to get an appointment with me, and our schedules just were not aligning. And I didn't want to fight that battle for the whole process. So I simply just asked if there was someone else I could possibly work with who had a more open schedule that could work around my schedule. And I did. And I switched social workers, and it was the best. I loved her. In fact, after I got done with my third post-placement visit, that's a whole nother podcast, but or episode, I was so sad to see her leave because I had formed such a bond with her and I loved her coming over and visiting with me and my baby. But anyway, so your social worker, your home study social worker is on your team. Who else is on your team? The agency that you're going to place with. You know, I recommend the multiple agency approach, which some of you may know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my website, RG Adoption Consulting. And on the contact tab, the contact page, there's a 15-minute video that walks you through my entire process, the adoption roadmap, and you'll learn about the multi-agency approach. So, but the agency that you ultimately match with is going to be a huge part of your team, because that is the person between you and the expectant mom. Between you and the expectant mom. And trust me, that point is probably the hardest point of the entire adoption process. So to have a caseworker at your agency or an agency that you really trust to be giving you all the information and guiding you through and really taking care of the expectant mama and reporting back to you is going to be really important. So working with an agency that you trust. And by the way, just a little aside, what I'm finding is that more and more agencies are working with consultants because their main focus is typically with the expectant moms, with the birth moms. So they don't have all this extra time to be answering a million questions from hopeful adoptive parents. And let's face it, you usually have a million questions, and that's okay. That's where agencies are starting to lean heavily on a consultant to help them with that, to help them navigate that relationship. All right, so we have you, we have your home study worker, we have your consultant, we have the agency that you match with. I forgot one, a therapist, an adoption therapist. You guys, nobody ever wants to listen to me on this. But it's not a matter of when you're going to need someone to talk to that knows what they're talking about. That when you need a little extra support or you're feeling so many things you didn't think you could feel anymore. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something is going to come up where you feel like I need to talk to somebody and I need to talk to somebody who gets it. There aren't a million therapists in this country who know adoption. But there are some. And there are some really, really good ones. And my hope is that you start that relationship when you don't need them, when you're starting out in the process. It's a resource we give to all of our families. I think probably 2% take us up on it. But at some point in their process, I remind them, this is probably that time that you want to call that therapist, because they can guide you through the way you're feeling about a certain situation. So there's a lot of ups and downs. It's not for the weak of heart, adoption all the time. So having that adoption therapist or counselor is a really, really integral part of your team. Two other people. One is a doctor. It's always great if you can have a doctor on your team. Maybe you know a pediatrician or an OBGYN who can look at a situation and read the medicals, if you have medicals, or read just about the medical aspect or the mental health aspect of a situation and give you some really professional guidance. Now, every doctor is going to have different viewpoints, right? Some doctors think nothing of bipolar. Some doctors say absolutely not with bipolar. That's one of those things where some doctors think it has to do with, you know, their life experience and what they've gone through. And some say once you have it, you always have it. I would never touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's so many varying views on it. I'm just bringing up one that popped up into my mind. Everybody needs an attorney. Sometimes that attorney comes within your adoption agency package that you are placing through. And sometimes you have to find one on your own. If you are finding one on your own, first of all, if you're working with a consultant, that consultant can help you. But if you are left to your own accord to find one, go look at Quad A attorneys, the Academy, I think it's the American Academy of Adoption Attorneys. Your adoption attorney helps with the finalization of your adoption. Everybody needs one. And you want to feel really, really secure that your adoption attorney has done many of these, especially if it's interstate, or especially if there's some sort of issue with perhaps a birth father or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that you're with somebody who knows this stuff and who feels super confident and can reassure you. Family and friend. Now, sometimes people feel like, well, I don't, when should I tell family? When should I tell friends? And that's totally a personal choice. What I wouldn't do is post anything about a match until after all the papers have been signed and your baby is home. But I would also very much agree with Lisa in that you want to tell a few trusted people in your close circle, whether that be family members, friends, both, a few core group of people, because even if it falls through, you want those people to be supporting you and loving you. Now, it's okay to put some guidelines around you telling them this information. Maybe it's that you are welcome to ask me and check in with me from time to time, but that I promise you I'm going to tell you when there's updates. And sometimes it's hard getting those questions all the time. Maybe you need to say that. Maybe you're okay with whatever questions they have. There's a book called In on It. And there's a big subtitle too, but that's a book that I gave to all of my close family members. It describes what you are going through with the adoption process and what might be appropriate to ask and not appropriate. It makes me think of when to tell your employer, and I'm not going to get super into that right now, but that's also going to depend on you and what you feel comfortable with and what your situation is at work. For me, and also it depends on when you match. Like, first of all, I don't know, it's totally personal. Some people tell their employer from the day they start their journey. I would probably recommend to wait until you match, although sometimes you get matched with a stork drop, a baby already born. So you need to feel that out. And if you're working, talk through it with some of the people on your team. But these are the core people that represent and make up your adoption team that are super important for you. So